What's up, guys? This is Nick Ocho Brown coming at you with episode 3 of Leadership Questions Answered. Today, we're going to talk about 3 critical skills that every leader needs to develop. Hey guys, thank you so much for coming back to episode 3 of Leadership Questions Answered. We have a very special guest questioner today. So without further ado, let's just get right into the question for episode 3.
Hey Ocho, this is Tyler Durden. I'm about to take over the pack, and I was wondering what things you would do, what advice you would have for a new leader as far as what things I can do right now to start making myself a better leader. Thanks for helping. Bye.
Hey dude, thanks so much for the question. It's a really good one because a lot of new leaders have that question as they start to get into a leadership position or as they start to think about leadership and they kind of sit in there and say, okay, cool, like I'm gonna go do this, but now what do I do, right? So what I think the most important thing that I would tell new leaders is that you need to start developing your leadership skills. And what I want to do today is really talk about 3, I think, critical leadership skills that, if these are developed, they will have huge impacts on your ability to lead others. So before we get started, I want to kind of give you guys my definition of what, when I say skill, exactly what I mean by that, right? So last week we talked about traits. We talked about humility, approachability, and credibility. If you haven't checked that video out, go check that one out real quick and then come back to this one. And if those aren't in line, every skill that you develop won't have the same effect. It won't be, you won't be able to lead as well because you don't have the internal abilities and mindset and thought pattern of a strong, good, real leader. So I define skill as an ability that you have developed and or can continue to develop, right? So not necessarily a talent, but a skill, right? So something that you have put some work into and developed, and something that you can continue to develop over time. And kind of separate skill from action, right? Action is what you do with the skills that you have, right? A good metaphor for that would be like if you're a very skilled writer, right? Let's say that you put a lot of work into understanding how to write, develop sentences, develop characters, whatever it may be. That's your skill that you have developed and will continue to develop. Your actions are what you do with that skill. For example, you might be a good writer. Your action with that is you go and write books, or you go and write articles, you write blogs or journals, or whatever it may be. You do something with that skill. So first, the very first skill that we're going to talk about, and it's probably the most important skill. In fact, it's so important that if it's the only thing you take away from this video or any video you watch that myself or Haas do, take this away as the critical skill and go develop it today as fast as you can. All right, and that is communication. The most important thing you can do as a new leader is to develop your ability to communicate with others.
Hold on. Stop the music.
Communication is the most important thing you can develop as a leader. Okay, let me say that again. Communication is the most important thing you can develop as a leader. And when I say communication, really what I'm talking about there is the ability to craft what needs to be communicated. All right, so being able to think about what the message is, think about who your audience is, and how you can best craft a message for the intended audience. Okay, so this is a skill that can be developed. It takes some time for sure, but it's really trying to put yourself in the place of who you're talking to, and then understanding what message needs to be communicated, and then tailoring your communication to that person. Who am I going to communicate to? What needs to be communicated? And then putting those two things together to make sure that your message is very clear and concise and tailored for that person, so they truly understand based on their background, their skills, their abilities, whatever it may be. Your message is perfect for that person. All right, now change that to an audience. Well, what's the common thread through that entire audience? What's common about them? What are they interested in? What do they care about? And taking your message, whatever it may be, and tailoring it to that specific audience. Okay? You're on YouTube right now. Go up to the search box and type in how to communicate and just start watching, absorbing as much knowledge as you can to develop yourself, and then actually practice it, right? That's how you develop a skill, is getting out there and actually practicing and putting into action the knowledge that you have gained. All right, so communication is the most important skill, and I'll talk a little bit about why that's so important as we get into the other skills. So skill number 2, I would put, or I would say, is charisma, and this is tied very, very closely to your ability to communicate. But charisma is a very broad topic as you go into it and study it more, right? It kind of encompasses empathy. It encompasses your emotional intelligence. It gives you the ability to project power, gives you the ability to project warmth, and understand when you're doing either of those and doing that very strategically to have the effect on those around you that you need to have in the moment to inspire them to do whatever needs to get done and inspire them to bring out the best version of themselves. So your charisma is extremely important. In fact, there's a great book out there called The Charisma Myth. I can't remember the author off the top of my head, but I'll put the details down in the description below. So go check that out. Extremely good book. It lays out charisma very, very well and kind of talks to you about how you can develop your charisma. You want to be able to communicate messages or tasks or your delegation or vision or whatever it may be. Your charisma, while you do that, will have, it'll have an exponential impact on your ability to communicate. All right, so communication is the number 1 skill that you can develop. Your charisma, developing your charisma will have a huge effect on your ability to communicate it. It's kind of like a multiplication effect to your communication. The skill we're going to talk about is, I got a couple different terms for it. One, you could call it strategic planning, or you can just call establishing vision or having vision. All right. Extremely important skill for leaders to be able to see the big picture, see where the team needs to go, see where the team is going, see what the difference is between those two things, and make sure that everybody's working towards the same vision in the end. That can be developed as well, right? And really what it is having a lot of conversations, really sitting down and thinking, being able to project into the future. What do I want? What do we need? What do my people need? What does this company need? What does the world need? What does this country need? Whatever it is, you have the ability to really think it out and then establish like, hey, I know that's where we need to go, okay? And then being able to communicate that. If you can't communicate your vision, you're in trouble, all right? Because you can have a great vision. There's plenty of people out there with great visions and opinions on what needs to happen. However, they don't know how to communicate it, or they don't have the charisma. People don't feel the warmth, they don't feel the power, they don't feel the confidence from that person. So even though they can communicate it, okay, their charisma takes away their message and people don't buy into their long-term vision. Right? And if they don't do that, then you're not leading anybody anywhere. You're going to be standing there all by yourself, leading nobody. Right? So that's what I would call the third most critical skill for leaders. So let's talk about how these 3 skills tie together. Right? Let's go through an example. Right? You've probably heard of a young man named Martin Luther King. He had a vision, he had a dream, right? Everybody's heard his speech before, right? So he had a long-term vision, he had a strategic plan, he saw the future, or the future of what it could be, right? Great, he had that skill, he could see the big picture, he could see what needed to happen. Wouldn't have really done much if he didn't know how to communicate, right? So he was a great communicator, he understood how to communicate his vision to those who would listen, okay? Lastly, because of his charisma and his ability to project his power and also warmth and his empathy, and everybody could kind of feel that he truly cared, right? He was able to project his warmth and his care through his charisma while he communicated the long-term vision that needed to accomplish. And when those 3 skills are highly developed and then put together, well, look what he was able to do. He was able to change the world. Look at another great leader such as JFK, right? He had a vision. America will get to the moon within the next decade, right? That was the vision that he laid out. He was able to communicate that extremely effectively because he understood how to communicate, and also he had great charisma. Right? So he was able to project this vision. Right? People believed in him when he said what he said. And he communicated that long-term vision, and again, changed the course of our country. So you can kind of just see those as just examples of when you have these 3 skills and they're highly, highly developed, the amount of influence and impact you can have on those around you and those that you lead. All right, so if you are a new leader, a young leader just getting started in leadership, or if you've been in the leadership position for a while and you're having some struggles, I would say there's a good chance that you need to develop one of these 3 skills or all 3. All right, so think about how you communicate. Work on your communication. Practice your communication. Work on your charisma. Go read that book. I'm not joking. Go actually check it out. Read it. It's a good read. It'll help you develop your charisma, which will help your communication. And lastly, the ability to see the long-term plan. Be able to see where you need to go. All right, question of the day. What did I miss? All right, leadership skills is a very broad topic and there's a lot of debate around those. These are the 3 that I picked out that I think can have the most impact on a leader, especially a new leader, but I want to hear from you guys. What did I miss? All right, guys, that wraps it up for today. Thank you so much for coming by and checking out episode 3. If you guys liked what you saw today, please hit like at the bottom, subscribe, comment. It lets me know that I'm going down the right path and helps me get the message out to more and more people. Or if you just like seeing my pretty face more often, just hit the subscribe button and you make sure that you guys get all of our videos. Thank you again so much for coming by, and we will check you out next week for episode 4. Have a good night. Take care.